And then
Oh my God, that is a
wow.
Yay, wowie,
Thank
wow.
you.
Wow. How cold that is.
Water, but we keep them in glass bottles.
Yeah, it's so cold. Let me tell you something.
Shit.
The great Ben Prout just handed us all bottles of water, and I've never felt colder water, man. It's amazing. Oh, just take a sip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought water could be so exciting, but holy shit, it is.
I like it. I like water in a glass bottle.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom always had a glass half-gallon milk bottle full of
When
water.
they started putting sodas and things, and I get it for breakage, but plastic, they never get cold enough to stores. Assholes.
And I don't think they taste the same either. When they come out of a can in plastic compared to what you used to get a bottle of Coke.
I think there's absolutely merit to that. It's,
But people don't know that. They just outlast the people who can complain about it.
Right.
Kids today just soda.
Let me tell you something. Anybody under 30, there was a time, and it was so goddamn cold and
And it
wonderful.
had a cap on it.
Yeah.
Yes,
had a
and
little
it had
bottle.
the little cap removal thing. Yeah.
And most of those, were 7.5 ounce Cokes.
That's exactly what they. I remember that.
And you know what? They satisfied. That was fine.
That's true.
And that was before an obesity problem in America. Now everything has to be in 16 ounces or liters. Or
Man, why? Seriously, stop pushing metric,
Oh.
motherfuckers.
Oh,
All right.
I mean, who
I don't
uses
do
that
metric.
crap anyway, right?
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, smart ass. All right, listen, commie. Matt's a communist. So
I'm
you'll find-
I'm a communist.
He hates America.
We
Hate
call him Red Mitt.
so much.
So much America. All right, let's get into this. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Backroom Show. I'm Gary Williams.
And I'm Matt Ferranda.
That's right, Matt Ferranda, the current WWE Intercontinental Champion.
I wrestled a lot of
Oh,
continents.
that's nice. You got that going for you.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right? Joining us today is a Backroom executive producer and my lady love, the eternally beautiful, the lovely Denise Maglinski.
Hi there.
Hey, everybody. Say it again. Hi there.
Hi there.
Now, Matt, this is our first road game.
It is our first road game. We're away for the first time.
We're away from the Backroom Studios, located.
We have the
in-
blue uniforms on.
Yeah,
today.
we do get the travels
Yeah.
with the powder blues on. Yeah. So our guest today, who was kind enough to have us over, is a guy that I knew in high school. He's a badass. He is, Matt, do you feel like less of a man just sitting next to him?
I clearly am.
This guy is everything. Let me give you a quick rundown of this guy, what he looks like. You know, in every movie, the action movie where they're getting the squad together to save a friend or whatever, and they're like, we can't do this until we get the Dutchman. We got to find the Dutchman. So they crossfade over to like a smoky bar in Thailand. And they go, hey, we're looking for this guy. And the guy points over, and there's a guy arm wrestling 3 alligators who looks like the baddest motherfucker in the bar. That's this guy. That's this guy.
Yeah, a whole bunch of empty shot glasses are on the table,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And he like for
And
some reason knows like 4 languages because he's had to get out of a few places in a hurry.
He's the one that has the chain gun by the end of the movie.
Bingo.
you know?
Bingo.
Yeah.
So you get me. So anyway, this is a great guy. He and his wife, Jillian, are the owner-operators of Jollyview Farm in Oley, Pennsylvania. Please, welcome to the back room, Ben Prout. Ben Prout is in the back room, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes. Ben, thank you for having us.
And love the enthusiasm, by the way.
Yeah. Well, calm down there. Ben, thanks for having us. Your farm is amazing. It's an amazing drive up. I put the GPS on just in case, and when we turned on your property, it was still giving me directions. That's how big this is. So it's amazing. We're here on Jollyview Farm. Tell us a little bit about how you and your wife started Jollyview Farm, where the name comes from, and how long, and what you do here exactly.
Alrighty. 14 years ago, my wife and I had the opportunity to start looking to buy our own farm. Her family came into some money. They knew we wanted to buy a farm, but we just didn't have the savings and the abilities. And they said, look, this is like found money for us. We'd like to bankroll your start. So we started looking. And this particular property, we also were looking in this area because Jill's parents live in Perkins-Gilmanville, Green Lane, and my parents are from Gilbertsville. We wanted
That's
to come.
about what, maybe 15 miles from here?
Yeah, it's
20?
17 miles to
Yeah.
her parents.
Yeah.
But this property was sitting empty, abandoned.
What was it before?
It was a dairy farm that went bankrupt.
Okay.
Their mortgage was backed by the government, by the USDA. And when they went bankrupt, the government took ownership of it and let it sit.
How long was it vacant?
3 years.
Wow.
Essentially because of government red tape. So when we first looked at it, it had huge potential, but the fields were all 10-foot high weeds. The buildings were falling down. The house was solid, but like all the wallpaper was off. And they're going to sell this property to a first-time farm buyer program, another great government program.
Yeah. Oh,
The stipulations of the program being you must be less than 35 years old, you must have farmed between 2 and 8 years, but never have owned property, and you to require government financing.
And left-handed, and you like purple on Wednesdays. Yeah. Wow.
So at that time, we came up, we had the open house, you had to put an application in, and there was a lottery to draw the application. They drew our application first. And even though we didn't require government financing, we had worked a business plan. We could get bank financing. And her parents, what they did is they lent us a token amount to fill their own red tape requirement. And I turned 36 a week after we signed the papers on this.
Wow.
And
Talk about cutting it close, right?
yeah, so we felt it was, that time we were like, it was kind of ordained. It was just like, it was
Right.
close to home. It's a beautiful farm.
It's
a
amazing.
great farm. It's one of the best in Oley, like without breaking
And
my
you
own
were
farm here.
and you were relatively new parents then too, little kids.
Yes, we had 5 and 3-year-old at the
Right.
time.
Wow.
So
Wow. And that's, I think that's the farm is named for them. You know.
Jollyview, we wanted something happy as a farm name. Jollyview encompasses Jill, the J and the L's. My daughter's name is Polly.
Right.
And my son's name is Oliver, and that has the O-L-I.
Yeah,
And I'm the Prout on the
There
front.
you go.
Prout's Jollyview Farm.
Yeah. You're what? And you're what? A couple generation farm? I know you guys had the poultry farm.
I am actually a 5th-generation farmer
Wow.
in this area.
Where's your people? Like, where did the Prouts? I assume German, right? Of course, you're Dutch, right?
Yes.
Where did they originate?
Well,
from?
my grandparents and great-grandparents were down in Upper Pottsgrove area, in between Pottstown and Boyertown.
Right.
And like my great-grandfather was born in Virginia.
Wow. Okay.
And moved to Upper Pottsgrove in his 20s, and he brought his father along, who was also a farmer, and he was a butcher and a farmer and a produce man, and his 2 sons, my grandfather and my great uncle, they split his butcher business into poultry and red meat.
Okay.
And my grandfather took poultry and produce, and his brother took the red meat, and that's how I grew up, raising chickens,
Right.
produce,
Is there
selling
still
to people.
some form of that farm in existence? The Prout
No, it is
poultry?
houses.
It is how. Oh, okay.
The curse of the Prout family is that
Which
the
is-
wives get the farms always, and the wives cash them out. That's
We're looking at you, Jillian. Wow, that's great. And how long had that particular? Because I know all growing up, you guys had it.
my great grandparents' farm. He had been there since like 1912.
Wow.
My grandparents' farm in Upper Pottsgrove, they bought that in 1942. So yeah, my dad's here today. He'll be 80 this year. He still helps me every day feed the cattle, but my grandmother sold that farm 10 years ago. So at the age of 70, he was unemployed and evicted from the farm that he lived on since he was 4.
Oh, so that was a family farm that he just kept going.
Yep.
Great.
He essentially worked for his mother his whole life.
Right.
But,
Wow. Now, I know, of course, you grow vegetables and things, and you guys are like known for your strawberries. But you've talked to me before about you not a dairy farm, but what's the deal? You raise cattle, people's cattle?
Custom raised dairy heifers is the primary business. I don't.
Matt, you did that for a while, right?
Yeah, but enough about my sister.
But all right.
I don't milk here. We
Right.
get the calves in 4 months of age, raise them up, vaccinate them, get them pregnant.
Do you get them pregnant?
Well, not me.
Yeah, right.
I pay $8 a piece to do
They
something
all
else
come
to do.
out with crew cuts, big arms, Move, motherfucker. All right. Whoa, hey, whoa. Whoa.
But then they go home to their home dairy just before they have their calf.
So what is the reasoning for sort of outsourcing them being raised here versus where they're being processed?
Okay, there's several angles on this today. I'll give you my sales spiel, but in today's climate, the conservation, manure management, and if you have a certain amount of property, you can only spread so much manure per acre. So if you wanted to increase your cow herd, which is actually the cows, the milk, that puts some money in your pocket. If you get your heifers off of your farm, you can add more cows. If you have a labor shortage, maybe you want to put your labor towards the cows, which put the money in your pocket. Move your heifers away. If you have an acreage shortage where you don't have enough feed, but you want to have more cows.
Right. So taking them away helps you have more overall.
Well,
and then you pay a little bit.
It should
for the
cash
person.
out. It works out on paper.
Right. Well, yeah. And
Doesn't
then there's the
always work
reality.
out, but that was the deal. And the Northeast dairy region in the United States is about the last area to adopt this practice. Like in California, where they have 10,000 cow dairies, they make milk. They don't raise any crops. They buy all their feed. Right. They have their heifers all raised. The cows are there and they milk.
Well, that's the old model, right? That's pretty much, it was like you raise the cow, you milk it there.
Yeah, you did it all. Farmers in general would rather do everything themselves. But so for Berks County, for conservative Berks County, this was kind of a radical idea. And none of the clients I've ever had are local either. But
That sounds about right.
Actually, yeah.
the dairies that I have are larger and more progressive. I have
Now, how does it work then? Is it like dropping off a car to get fixed and then you drop it off? In the sense that, like, you just raise it and get it ready for being milked and they come and get it?
My largest client, he brings me 20 each month and takes 20 home.
Right.
And
do they like rotate them out?
yeah, they rotate them out. 20 a month. He has 140 here at the time. It's 7 months. That's because he's taken home just as they're pregnant. He'd rather get them home and let them gestate at home.
I'm kind of curious, how did you end up then rehabilitating the farm itself once you bought it? If it were all, if it weeds and how also too on that, how did you choose what you were going to grow here?
Well, this was my first property I've ever owned. It's my first ownership of anything, and that's when I realized that I was going to be a prostitute to money. I lived my whole life till I was 35. Money was not really an object as far as I could care less one way or the other. So I could live my life the way I wanted to. Banks don't see it that way.
And, colleges want their loans paid back. And,
So I knew I did not want to milk cows. I had milk cows in college. Hated it. Really don't understand why people want to put their head under a cow twice a day. But I do love animals, and I've always raised all kinds of animals.
Right.
And so
you have here at his house probably the biggest damn dog I've ever seen in my life. I mean, technically, I think it's a horse.
Little
Horses
kids
run in
have
fear.
ridden him, yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But anyway, go ahead.
So we had the cattle facilities. I had to come up with a business that was cattle related. And I had a friend's father that did this. He had sold his dairy due to health reasons, but he talked somebody into putting heifers into his barn at that time. And I was like, that's a model that could really work. So we started researching it and we could make it work.
I'm always fascinated by the mechanics of the whole thing, of the and Denise, this is your thing, this sort of earth to table aspect of farming.
Yeah, farm to table. It's like a big buzzword now.
Well, I'm glad Jill's not here because
What, she feels differently?
That's her new angle. She's always working on me. We need to go have farm to table dinners here. And
They're super popular. Yeah.
Holy cow. You know what? Now, I thought you were the brains, but boy, was I wrong. That's genius.
My wife is an excellent idea person. In the end, though, the majority of it has to come down to me. How do I manifest her idea?
It still has to happen, right?
And I'm a little, head in the sand sometimes and old fashioned too. I don't.
Fair.
It takes me time to get my head around an idea. It's like the pick your own strawberries. I mean, the whole produce idea was, you were asking about how do we decide what to do here. When I left my parents' farm, I swore I would never pick produce again. I was done crawling around on my hands and knees. But once we had our own place, I could make more dollars per acre on those acres than I can with the crops or even feeding the crops to the cattle. So, and I knew how to do it. So we opened a stand and then Jill wanted strawberries, and my pop-up always had strawberries. Yeah. She's like, no, I want pick your own strawberries. I says, nobody's going to come pick their own strawberries.
Right. That's crazy.
Get out of your mind,
Right.
So we planted a limited, like a half an acre, because I was only going to plant what I figured I could pick. or I could handle picking. The people came like the old Field of Dreams if you planted a company.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
three
I followed on
quarters,
Facebook, and it's huge.
3/4 of my strawberry sales are pick your own. I mean, we still pick a lot, and we sell over the counter. We're ready
Right.
picked if you like, but it is really majority of it's pick your own. And mothers clubs, and we're really kid friendly. We like them to have fun, and that's my chickens are loose. We have a pet turkey. The
We saw a couple turkeys on the way in.
The
Yeah.
dog's all
Yeah.
is mellow as heck, so
Oh,
the
yeah.
kids
Unbelievable.
can just come out, be outside. Kids don't go outside anymore.
Right,
You could
right.
feel when we turned on. You could feel just that, but it's also, I don't know. It just seems, it feels so goddamn. I'm moving in, Ben. I'm moving in.
Hey, there's rooms upstairs, Gary.
Perfect.
As long as you stay a fist length away.
At all times.
That'll be
Gary.
in the show notes.
Right.
Now let me go back a little bit. You actually went to Penn State for agriculture, right?
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about that, because people have this image of like the straw in the mouth, leaning on the fence, going, yeah, shit kicking farmer, and you are anything but that.
My story for that is when before my senior year of high school, my grandparents sat me down and said, "You're too smart to be a farmer. You should go to college. There's no place for you here." Because at that time, my life plan was I was just going to get out of school and keep working. I loved doing it. I loved it ever since I was a little kid, and I was really crushed about that. So my mom was my biggest cheerleader and got on board, and she had gone to Penn State, and she's like, Penn State has ag programs. If you can't be a farmer, you can be involved in agriculture. So it's the only college I applied to, and I got accepted, and I went. Still thinking I was never going to be a farmer.
Right.
I took the agricultural science program, which is the most general degree in ag you can get at Penn State. Most people pick that as a major and then move out of it when they want to move into dairy science, animal science, when they figure out what their specialty is.
Okay, right. Like animal husbandry and
Yeah.
stuff, right? Okay.
I freaking loved it because I could take anything. It was wide open for me for my credits, and I had welding, I had carpentry, I had blueprints, I had block laying, I had electricity. I took a butchering class, I had soil science, agronomy. I had it all. So the biggest thing about college for me, which I think is much more important, is I was so naive when I left Boyertown. I thought I knew everything, and I thought I was a big wheel. And I went to college, and what a world opened up.
Main campus, right?
Main campus.
Okay.
And the people that I met, and they're my best friends yet today, and none of them are farmers. They're the whole spectrum of occupations. But the experiences that I had there, and it made me more confident. It made me better in social groups. It made me a better manager of things. I was in a fraternity. We used to do a charity, and we used to manage a charity and manage a group of people living together. 40 guys living together. You all have to pull the load together, get the house stuff cleaned, and so I would recommend going away to college for anybody just to expand your horizons.
Do you feel like a better farmer? Like, thank God I did that, because I'm so much more, because it's people, whatever you think it is, you ride a tractor, like, holy cow, are you kidding me? You're chief cook and bottle washer, right? Mostly?
Yes, people have that. It's the wrong perception of farmers. Like you say, riding a tractor. That is my favorite thing to do. I do very little tractor riding,
Right.
comparatively.
More time like doing tractor rides for
Honestly,
your friends, right?
I'm mostly they should just quantify me as like a materials mover.
Okay.
I bring the crops in from the field and put them in the silo. I take it from the silo and I put it into a feed wagon and feed the cattle. The cattle go through it, shit it out. I move the shit out
Right.
into the pit. When the pit gets full, I move it out into the manure spreader and put it back on the field. I spend most of my time driving a skid loader. I drive a skid loader 2 or 3 hours every day.
I saw it out there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And
not all the tractor driving, and it's
One of the
It's
things
veterinary.
I'm pretty interested in. We were talking about this a little bit on the way down, without getting too inside baseball. The financial aspect of it. How does one decide or come to determine how much an acre worth of crop is, and how do you price it out to break even at the end of the day?
see that's a big can of worms you want to open.
Yeah, that's a
Farmers
skull scratcher.
Farmers
right?
are price takers, not price makers. But for me, I figure in like for an acre of corn. I've got my land use, my taxes, or if you rented land would be land rental. Your land has a value: seed, fertilizer, fuel, equipment maintenance, my time.
Divided by so and so.
And then at the end, you have harvest costs and storage costs or drying costs, and all that cost per acre. That's what it costs. Well, then you see how many tons you got of this or how many bushels you got of that. At what price did you make money or not? The animal route, putting it through the animals, is always more secure route than like straight raising corn to sell on the open market.
What do you mean?
The price of corn for a grain corn, that's all speculative. Chicago Board of Trade, there's a bit of basis with it because we're so far from the Midwest and the infrastructure in the Midwest. So they add the prices a little better in Berks County because the East Coast is a high grain usage area. And so they pay you more for it locally than having to rail it in or truck it in from the Midwest. But the price is what they say it is. Same way in the spring when you planted it, the price of your fertilizer and seed is what they say it is. And all you can do is you're out there hoping you get the weather to get the yield, to get more than you spent. No farmer ever knows what he's going to make for the year, ever.
It's interesting.
See, that's where I get it. I have a chip on my shoulder because I feel close to God that way because I fight the weather.
Right.
I have
That's
the
a good
ultimate
point.
caveat.
Yeah.
Well,
that you
and
don't
it's
know- you
not
don't
just
know.
the weather. Like, so I find it kind of amazing because we grew up in the 80s, right? Okay, maybe not Matt, but we grew up in the 80s. And, there was this enormous farm crisis, right? And here you are in the 80s deciding to go into farming. That's kind of crazy, right?
Did it
Most
get better
people
for
thought
a
it was
while?
a little
or-
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, it got better after the 80s.
Thank you, Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Right?
All that Farm Aid horse shit. In general, I just wish people would let me alone. People ask, well, can't the government help you? Don't you get government subsidies? Can't you do this? And the Farm Aid, that's all media stuff, I would rather if somebody just let me make enough money so I can wind up owning my farm and I can send my kids to college. I don't need to be buried with a casket lined. I don't want to go to the shore. I don't want a mountain house. I love my place. I'm here 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking the shore is probably not a really good time for you to go on vacation,
No,
right?
no.
So what do you do all winter?
That's true. Yeah.
Get fat.
Like where?
My work schedule essentially goes with daylight hours. Like in the summer, I wake up when it gets light out, and I'm usually done at 9-ish at night.
Right.
Wintertime, it gets dark at 4:30. I'm in the house. Well, is tomorrow ever
La,
going
la,
to get
la,
here?
la,
So
la,
it's a
right.
lot of bad television and, messaging Gary on Facebook. and
Is it a lot of repair and stuff?
But a
I do a lot
phenomenal
of
new
my own
podcast
repair.
to listen to, though.
yeah, a great podcast to listen to
well.
this winter. No, but a lot of
it'll be a
repair.
better winter then.
That's right.
right. Here you
Brought
go.
to you by the Backroom
The
Network.
Backroom Network. And sort of touching on what Matt said, what is the thing that people should know about the present and potential future state of farming?
It is unsustainable. What they should know is that they don't realize how cheaply they are eating.
Right.
Their food we're like one of the lowest countries in the world, the percentage of income spent on food.
Is that right?
Yes.
Huh.
It's a huge, the old breadbasket of America. We feed the world, and we've been living on that old wives' tale but they don't realize how cheaply that they eat. The cheapness of food, it has farmers whittled down. We're in this situation, I said before, about we're price takers and stuff and that's the reason there are government programs. It's easier for the government to help bolster agriculture because farmers are down to less than 2% of the population in the United States now.
No kidding. If it's shrinking, but yet obviously the population's never been higher, how does those ratios work out?
That, man, we'll have to be here for hours. Because that gets into the whole GMO and chemical use and stuff. Agriculture's been able for the last 60 years, or since World War II, essentially, expand production on less and less and less acres. But now we've reached this point where people have been fed enough and they're fat enough that they start to think about and they take on an opinion about what's right and what's not.
It's got to be a breaking point, right?
It's going to be a breaking point
Yeah.
somewhere. And I don't necessarily disagree with people that talk about chemical usage or even GMOs and stuff like that.
Denise, you had a question about that. Go
I
ahead.
did want to ask
sorry.
about, what are your thoughts on GMOs? Because I will say that when I first heard people in an uproar about GMOs, I was like, oh yeah, it's all bad, it's all terrible. But at the same time,
Not necessarily true. The GMOs that are available in agriculture right now are essentially tools to make raising the food cheaper, to giving a farmer, he spends less on chemicals. If I use GMOs, I have Roundup Ready corn. The whole glyphosate thing, but that chemical is so cheap compared to other weed herbicides, preventatives. If I plant that corn, it saves me money in raising it. It doesn't. The GMO does not necessarily make it more abundant. Make your harvest bigger. It doesn't. You don't get
It's
a
not some
bushel
miracle
boost.
grow, right?
No, it's not Miracle Grow.
Right.
It's another tool. Now, I've always felt that maybe we shouldn't be so arrogant and be fooling around with taking a gene from something that doesn't belong in something and putting it somewhere else.
Right.
So that's where I wouldn't argue that someday we're going to find out maybe something is wrong with this GMO. A lot of things we've developed over, the history of the United States, it turned out to be bad things. They seemed like miracles. Asbestos, DDT,
delicious, by the way.
thalidomide. Yeah, right.
It may turn out that way, but the way having those GMOs at this time allows us to keep increasing production to meet the population demand.
Right. And some of the things you were saying about resistance, like they'll try to make sort of a bug resistant strain from one plant and add it to like a crop so that it'll.
Well, you can get that in corn. It's BT. It's the gene in there is actually toxic to certain corn pests. So bugs land on the corn and eat that, and the bugs die.
Right.
I don't need to go spray a pesticide then, and I don't need to watch my crop get eaten by the pests. I always have to make that choice all the time. There's another thing with growing the crops is like you go out there and say, oh, well, I got a problem with my corn. Now, it's going to cost me more money if I go and treat this with a chemical. Or do I just crapshoot it and say, well, we'll see what we get in the end.
Right.
Either way, I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose an end either way.
Right. Well, and then does it also have lasting effects on your soil if you're using chemicals?
Well, that's really what people are getting
point.
into now is we don't know lasting effects on the soil or even in the human body. Is anything changing in the human body? I'll give the people that. But I know for me, using GMOs, I use less volumes of chemicals.
And it can't be bad, right? At least
Well,
definitely in the short term.
It can't
right?
be bad, but then again, anything that kills something, Gary, can't be good for everything.
Oh, that's a good fucking
You
point,
know?
Ben. That's a good point.
Hey,
buddy.
it's all right to spray the corn with this.
Yeah.
Well, if it kills something, it's a
Right.
killer.
Because we don't know yet.
We don't know.
We didn't apply it to this. maybe there's
So,
something in certain
I don't
genetic
want
makeup.
to. I don't want to sound, middle of the road on this issue, but for me, financially, I have to use them. So if it comes to a breaking point where they outlaw this stuff or whatever, okay, well then you've set a benchmark. Okay, you're saying this farmer's, I'm only going to be able to raise this amount of food, and your population is going to keep growing. Who decides who starves? The people that didn't want the GMOs. Eventually we can't feed ourselves.
I haven't eaten in 2 weeks. Excuse me, is that organic or is that GMO? Yeah, that's a really good
I
point.
mean, and that's kind of doomsday talk, but in another generation, and that's why I say about people don't know what they pay for food is I operate on a razor's edge here financially all the time, and every farmer I know, and that's normal. That's how I grew up. That's normal operating procedure. Mm-hmm. It's just how much more can you ask from me without giving me anything more,
Right.
any more money back? If I have to use a different chemical or a different process, organic, it's going to cost me more money, or it's going to take more money for me to live. So that means you're going to have to give me more for my product.
Boom. It's that simple. I'm confused because I remember Green Acres, and he was rich and had a farm.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that's not the way to get rich? Of course, I guess he came rich, right?
There's
Yeah.
There's an old Dutchman saying around here, it's always better to farm with money than for money.
What do you feel about, what do they call them, gentleman farmers? The kind of guy that owns the land and checks in once in a while. How's it going, Sully? Exactly.
I put up with them. Yeah.
Ben's making a face, but you know what? I don't want to.
Well,
I don't want to alienate your customer base.
I'm
so.
a real snobby elitist,
Clearly,
It's just,
yeah. He's sitting there wearing a sleeveless shirt.
oh, this is my Larry the Cable Guy shirt from TSC,
Right.
That's
Well, you don't want
that's
to have
right.
that traditional farmer tan that's halfway
No.
down
Yeah,
your
I
arm.
like to go full on.
He's full sleeves.
You're
Yeah,
right.
you're a
Yeah,
full
but it
sleeves.
is nice and white underneath.
So I'm curious, like who mostly is buying your product? Talking about the produce.
Our biggest part of our produce right now is a box delivery CSA.
Yeah. Explain what that is. CSA.
Community supported agriculture is what CSA is for. The people sign up, they prepay me at the beginning of the season, and then through the growing season here this summer, they get a box of a certain amount of produce for 15 weeks, all and through the typical growing season in Pennsylvania.
Do you get what you get? Like this week, it'll include X, Y, and Z, or do they pick and choose? Or
It concludes X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
I grow in produce here almost anything you can grow in Pennsylvania throughout the summer.
I saw
so
on
it's
Facebook,
different
it's amazing.
every week.
Okay.
But that's another thing we kind of like to educate people about the seasonality of food also anymore. Nobody knows that anymore. I had people in the driveway today looking for sweet corn. It's almost impossible to get sweet corn in Pennsylvania for the 4th of July unless you raise it under a tunnel or under plastic. I don't know if you've ever seen the fields that have plastic
Yeah,
laid.
actually, I have. Yeah.
Well, that's a false
is that what that
greenhouse.
is?
They plant corn and the dirt's humped up and the plastic stretched over the top. It makes a tiny greenhouse to get it started.
I always assumed that they were growing pot.
I hope so. Well, yeah, the corn is a cover.
Exactly.
Right.
And and there's always a few people every year because the first week of our CSA, we always start when we have strawberries. Everybody's happy with strawberries, but you get like kale, spinach, spring onions, and they're like, when they think produce, they're thinking tomatoes,
Right.
And I'm like, that's not in season yet. It doesn't come around.
Right.
And
But so the box, just to be clear, the box is what you're featuring that week. Like this week it has
Well, we
this
had,
and this and
like,
this. Next time I might have.
This past week was our 4th delivery. We had green string beans, yellow string beans, sugar snap peas, kohlrabi, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, the first tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, and yellow squash, and raspberries, and Rainier cherries from Shanesville.
You guys do raspberries?
Yeah.
I'll be grabbing some of those on the way out. Thank you very much. Yeah, wow, that's great.
well,
Now you guys have your it's the Strawberry Jam Festival thingy? What is it again? I'm sorry.
Strawberry jam.
Yeah. What is that? Very quickly.
My wife cooked that up a couple years ago because she's a partier.
Get it? Liked it. Cooked it
She,
up.
See.
it's always the first Saturday in June, 2 to 8, and
And you try to, it coincides with strawberry picking, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes, it's always that first weekend in June because that's typically the biggest flush of strawberries. That's strawberries come in at Memorial Day. We set up the stage here in the yard, 3 or 4 bands playing all day, hay rides, barrel rides, pick your own strawberries. You can buy strawberries. We had Ollenbach Winery here making strawberry slushies with our wine slushies
Hell
with
yes.
our strawberries.
Yes.
My cousin makes the shortcake. Jill buys heavy whipping cream from Long Acres and makes the whipped cream. We cut up like 80 quarts, sliced strawberries to go on. We get Long Acres ice cream. We got 40 quarts of Long Acres ice
Man,
cream.
you're killing me, buddy.
But it's
killing
just come spend the day. You can pick strawberries. You can buy strawberries. You can eat hamburgers, hot dogs. My mother-in-law made 60 pounds of potato salad.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's a whole family.
And so what, you left about 20 for everybody else yourself? Or
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've never been to one, but I see all the pictures. And it looks like so much damn fun. Like Vujade was here, right?
Yes, she's one of my favorites. Kim's one of my favorites.
Oh, I want to get her on the show. She is so cool.
But I have a question about, do you find that now smaller farms like this, do they do things like that to support?
You want to get that phlegm out of your throat there, buddy?
That's staying in.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
But for family farms and things like that, do they have a lot of festivals, things like that, to supplement income throughout the year?
Absolutely. Any of that kind of stuff, they call it agritainment. It brings dollars.
You guys do the maze, right?
I don't do a maze now.
Oh, they
the Oley
do.
Turnpike Dairy does the maze for years. The pumpkin patch and the maze, and Wilcox Farms does a big corn maze, and those type of things. Honestly, traditionally, I would rather not have it because I just want to be left alone a
kinda
lot.
makes
But
me
it's
think-
dollars.
Well, but don't you think there's a second level to it? I mean, one, that day you're bringing in some cash at the event itself, but then two, you're also making more people aware that you're here and we have your
It's-
CSA.
it's solid
definitely always brings me more CSA members.
Yeah.
People actually get here.
Yeah, so
And-
quit complaining, Ben.
I don't know if they're fun, Gary, because I've worked all 10 of them that we've had, and I've never heard a song that any of the bands played. I am wherever.
Because
I
you're
am,
humping.
I'm it.
Yeah.
And I would imagine to bring in an event coordinator is just more money you're taking out of the pocket to do that sort of thing.
Very much
Oh,
so. We
yeah.
tried that one year. About our 4th one, we actually subbed that out to a guy, got the bands and whatever, and it was a disaster.
You know, Ben, I think we need some more hay bales over on this corner. Oh, shut up. You know.
Do
like,
ya?
Yeah,
Do you
do
think
ya?
that-
Do ya?
Let me introduce you to the baler real quick. Hold on one sec.
Exactly. Do ya?
yeah. So, like, what about local restaurants? Do they use the local food?
We at one time there was a chef up at the Oley Valley Inn when we first started. He would get our produce and put that on his menu every week. There's been talk this summer that over at Creekside, which is the old Pleasantville diner,
Right.
she would like to get stuff from us because my daughter's been working over there and stuff. Again, I'll go back to the Berks County thing. There's not a lot of premium type places local here.
Well, it's interesting you say that, though. For listeners to the show, they're aware that I just moved back from Portland, Oregon, and farm to table is a huge industry there because there is such an interest in getting that fresh produce, and they make events out of it, and it is a premium price that you're paying. And I just don't see the sustainability of that here in Berks County, where no one really cares about that sort of thing.
I don't think that's true.
I don't
think there
know.
are a lot of people, and I think if it were more available, I want to eat the freshest food possible. I don't want food that got trucked here from the Midwest. What's the point of that? And so another question. So we don't live near any farm stands. I mean, it's 25 minutes to get here, but we live 5 minutes away from the farmer's market. So I walk around the farmer's market, and they have signs for California strawberries, and I'm like, well, that's not local.
Yeah,
Are they just
are they
produce
using boxes?
distributors? Like, are they not local farmers?
That's a really good question.
The farmers markets I've been involved in, no, most of the time it's not local, or there's such a broad definition of local. Like some places are up to like considered within 150 miles is local.
Wow.
That's so funny. Another question, Henry?
Yeah, so I want to know what do you grow here that you just don't eat?
Salad.
Surprisingly, a lot of it.
Really?
I don't like vegetables.
No.
In a broad sense of the word is, I don't like cooked vegetables. I don't like the texture. Never have. I love raw cauliflower, raw broccoli, raw spinach, shell peas out in my hand. I don't really. I like corn on the cob, and we freeze corn for winter. I like corn. I like string beans cooked. I like red beets cooked. I will not eat a squash on a bet.
See, it's not just me.
Wow.
There you go. Thank you, Ben.
I know how to cook them all, and I give my customers suggestions, and I know what's good quality, and I know when it's going to taste best. I just do not prefer most of them.
Are you a good cook?
I am an excellent cook.
Yeah,
Can't you tell?
believe it. Ah! All right. So this is because everything I know from movies and TV about farmers and farming. Have you ever had a weary traveler spend the night in your barn?
Like a
In my
traveling
barn.
salesman.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's raining out there. Stay in the barn for a while.
No.
But the movies say it's going to happen.
I have had strangers stop here. We're cordial. I've helped them out, run out of gas. One of the beauties of my place, you talked about the long driveway, is, we're isolated. There's no traffic noise. There's no. We know when somebody's coming in the
That's a
driveway.
good point,
There's got to
right.
be a reason they're coming.
That's true. There's no, you're not passing through to go to somewhere else. You're coming here. You're coming here. That's it. Yeah.
And the sniper's nests all over.
That's
Really,
everywhere.
really
That
keep
was
that
another
down.
big thing
Yeah.
about buying the farm. Our kids were little at the time. Like, hey, we don't have to worry about them riding their bikes and being snatched or people taking them. They're safe here.
Was this where all the kids would come play, their friends?
Yes,
Hell
all
yes.
their friends come here, and that's what was a dream of my wife. She's like, I want this to be the place where everybody hangs out, and it came with a swimming pool. Well, yes,
Right.
and over the years we've had several of their friends live with us. Family troubles. We've had 4 or 5 different girls that spend a year with us.
That's awesome.
Just so they have a safe place to be. And
By the way, we're having Jillian on too next time because she's clearly the fun one.
she is fun. I'm the old stick in the mud.
There you go. So is there anything, because again, Ben is a prototypical farmer. He's a big, strong, strapping, hands made out of, like baseball mitts, hard working, regular man. But is there something that you're embarrassed to admit that you're afraid of, like cats or the wind or something?
Oh, I'm deathly afraid of snakes.
Snakes. Well, that's pretty reasonable.
was gonna say,
I mean,
that's-
something
that's
silly,
not- yeah.
like you see a bag of marshmallows and you lose your shit or something.
No. I mean, I can pick a garter snake up, but that's it.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Yeah, but nothing weird. Like, oh, a can of paint.
I can't. I can't.
Sea
wa-
monsters.
I can't
Dirt.
watch people put contacts in.
Oh, that's a good
Oh my
one.
God.
Oh,
Anyone
that's
gets
pretty
near their
damn-
their own eyes. My eyes start to water. I'm like,
That's pretty good.
and my kids would do it at the dinner table. My daughter can like turn her eyes
Yeah.
up, do the white thing,
Right.
and she'd be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Dad." And I'm like,
Oh, the
My-
eyelid thing.
My roommate in college has the craziest phobia about people touching their eyes. He would have to get up and leave when someone would put contacts in. He couldn't handle it.
Wow. How about like needles and things? You
No,
okay with that?
love them. I've been diabetic for 25 years. I take several shots a
Oh,
day.
so that's nothing now.
It's nothing now.
Okay. All right. So give us the quick plug for Jollyview Farm, your hours, your phone number, how people can reach out and do business with you.
Prout's Jollyview Farm, Route 662 in Oley, the Memorial Highway. We will be opening probably the 7th of July. We'll be open till Labor Day, 10 to 5 daily. Corn, tomatoes, any produce you can get. Pick
Right.
fresh daily.
And phone number, did you say?
Phone number 610-291-2369. That is my wife, Jillian, and she handles the logistics of
Okay.
phone calls.
And they're on Facebook. Get all the info and all the information about the CSA and stuff like that. Ben Prout, this has been amazing. You are definitely coming back. You're such a smart guy. And I just want to thank you again. So so just keep loving each other.
Right.
And we'll see you next time in the back room.